I think we are now streaming live. All right, here we are. Welcome to my first edition of Full Court Press with Coach Jay, with my special guest, Mr. Coach Devrinn Paul, Mr. Coach DP. I got another little special guest in here with me. It's my guy, Nick Senato. He's a coach out in California. He was my trainer, my manager, and workout partner at Cal State Fullerton. So, Coach DP, I'm gonna go ahead and start you out and let you get started with it. Tell me about yourself. Tell the world about yourself, and tell us what you're doing now.
Man. So first of all, I just want to say I'm thankful to be on the Full Court Press. I love that name too. Um, so yeah, I'm Coach DP. I started out as a basketball manager at Kentucky State University. On the men's side, my uncle was a head coach there while I was there. So I was a manager for 4 years. Then I was a student assistant coach. Then I became a graduate assistant at the University of Louisville. Switched over to the women's side, worked with Jeff Walls there. Very close with Michelle Clark Hurd because she used to coach at Kentucky State. She got the job as an assistant at Louisville, so that was my connection. So I was a graduate assistant there for 2 years. Then I became the video coordinator there. Then I became the special assistant to the head coach there. So I went to 2 national championships while I was at the University of Louisville on the women's side. Then I became a recruiting specialist at Marshall University with Matt Daniel on that staff. So I'm thankful to Matt for that opportunity. And now me and my wife, we have a basketball training business. And then I also do some consulting work with other coaches at other universities. And we have a group coaching community called the Coaching Corner.
That's what's up. I'm actually a part of the Coaching Corner, so it's actually good for me. Coach DP and I met a couple weeks ago. He saw my story. I put in what my goals were, and we jumped on a call and we went right to work. Tell Gab, I said, hello, I'm glad you got that whiteboard behind you because I'm going to put you to work. So you've already answered my first question. You kind of already told us about your coaching journey a little bit. So my next question would be, what made you really get into coaching?
You know what? The right answer to that would be hard work, dedication, right? All of that stuff that people always want to say. But right. My story is a lot different. I never really wanted to be a coach. It pretty much chose me. I actually played basketball and football in high school. I was a better football player, but I just didn't take academics serious. So that came to creep up on me. I guess not creep up. I mean, I knew what I was doing. So next thing you know, I'm sitting there, graduated from high school, and I was trying to figure out, like, what am I going to do next? And my pops walked in the room and was like, yo, what do you have planned? You either got to get a job or you got to go to school. Right. So I said, let me call my uncle and see if I could just get into school at Kentucky State. So I went there. And then next thing you know, when I got into school, my uncle was like, hey, would you like to help out with the team? And I said, yeah, I'll help out. Like, what do you want me to do? He said, I want you to be a manager. I said, so what does that mean? He said, you show up to everything that the players show up to, and you put them through workouts. So I started working out my friends and started training my friends. And then one thing led to another. Got very connected inside of the business, which is a huge part of everything that you do as far as business. I got connections. And next thing you know, one thing led to another. And coaching really chose me. Like, I got into coaching because the basketball rolled in front of me. I picked it up. And since that day, I ain't never put it down.
I understand, man. I picked basketball up at an early age. I picked it up at about 3. It kind of came naturally to me as well. So I guess my next question would be, who is your biggest coaching influence and who are your mentors? Would you say that your uncle was probably your biggest influence on it because that's where you got your start, or would it be Coach Waltz, or who else?
Yeah, so when it comes to mentors, I look at my uncle as a life mentor. You know, he showed me a lot of different things as far as life is concerned in general, and just as a man, and of course with my father as well. But when it comes to coaching, you know, my uncle was very big on player development, so I learned a lot of my player development skills from my uncle. But then when it came to X's and O's, Jeff is one of the best in the business, if not the best. When it comes down to that. So I've learned that from him. Then when it comes down to organization, I've learned that from Matt Daniel, who is now the head coach at Arkansas State. You know Matt.
Yeah.
So, I pretty much have blended a lot of different styles in one and kind of put my own swag or sauce on it and made my own version of all of these mentors and people in the business that have had an influence on my coaching career.
Okay. Well, for me, so I've been on this kick of really trying to figure out what, culture. Culture has been, building culture. What is it about? What does it take to build culture? How do you go about building culture? So my question and our main topic of the day is, what do you ultimately think it takes to build culture in a program, especially when you take over? I'm gonna give you a scenario. What if you're taking over a program that's been kind of in the dumps some, has been losing a lot, and you're trying to change the culture because you come from a winning program, or vice versa, you come from a losing program and you go take over a winning program? What would be your mindset in both of those?
So it's funny that you said that because I work with tons of coaches. So I assist women's basketball coaches in increasing their performance on and off the court. So through that, I do a program with a lot of my personal clients. It's called the Four Quarters. And in the Four Quarters, we talk about the four main areas that I've seen inside of teams that has separated good teams from great teams. So when you think about all of these great teams that have done these superb things, they have had a structure, or they had a system that they have run. We all know systems. We know with the Chicago Bulls when they were nice with Jordan. I'm a Jordan fan, so they had that triangle down pack. You know what I'm saying? They had a system. So I think when it comes to your culture, your system is a huge part of what you do. So when I think about systems as a coach, I think about a play, right? So I'm gonna give you one of my plays that I use with a lot of my personal clients when it comes to building a system. And I'm gonna use the whiteboard just to show you.
Okay.
So when we talk about building a culture, I think about knowing your ABCs. And I'm not talking about like the old school, like ABCD. I'm talking about like group A, right? So if we think about group A, these are your elite performers, right? These are the kids that and I'm not talking about any skill level. I'm talking about all just effort and attitude. Like that's my main two things. I'm just looking at your effort and your attitude. When I'm looking at the group A, this is the top bunch. This is the kids. If you want to measure it, you just say, okay, which kids show up when I don't need them to show, when I don't say, hey, you got to be here. These are the kids that automatically put in extra work. With a normal team, I would say, what do you think that percentage would be with a normal, let's just say a normal team, not a great team, not even a good team, just a mediocre team out of 100%?
Probably 100%, probably about 25% of that is going to be on a normal team. Yeah, I go with about 25%.
Okay, so your normal is very high because a lot of my personal clients, they start out with about 10 to 20%, right? So I'm gonna just say for the sake of the exercise, let's just keep it at a low number. So let's say 10% of your kids are at that high level, right? Because you coming in, turning around the program, you probably walking in there with a whole bunch of kids that don't do anything. So group A would be your overachievers. Now we're going into group B. Group B, this is the average kids. These are the kids that show up. They do exactly what they're supposed to do. They don't go over. They don't go below. That's usually where the most of your kids will be. Your highest percentage is probably group B. I'm gonna put it at about an 80%, right? You got 80% to show up and do exactly what you tell them to do. Now, also in your coaching, you always got that group C. That group C, boy, that group C will wear you out. That group C, that's the kid that you might be about to have them take over the team and be one of the best players, or they might be about to get kicked off. You just don't know what you're going to get and how they're going to show up. And that is another 10%, right? So now we got our 100%. So now if I'm thinking about increasing my performance in the culture quarter, which is my second quarter, I'm going to say, okay, how do I get these group C's up to these group A's? But when you look at the numbers, this is what I love to do in culture. I love to look at the numbers. I'm going to coach this group a lot more than I'm going to coach this group and this group. What I'm going to do as the head coach is I'm going to delegate. I'm going to say, okay, you know what? I got a couple group C kids. I want them to be with this coach on a consistent basis, meeting, and I want these three things done, whatever three things you think are important in your program or whatever you have, right? And so I would delegate first. Then I would say, okay, I'm gonna pair up. I'm gonna do instruction pairing, right? It's the same thing they teach you in teaching. So I'm going to go, okay, let me get a group A kid, pair them up with a couple of these group B kids. Now the group B kid can see how things are done and they can learn from their peers. That's the best way to change a culture, is to have the peer-to-peer learning, because kids are more vulnerable to talk to each other than they are to come talk to us. And this is literally how you can change your culture. And I've done it with a lot of my personal clients. Obviously, we go a little bit deeper, but that's one of my plays that I love to run when it comes to increasing your performance with your culture.
So let's just say, let's give you a scenario, Nick. At any given time, you can ask a question if you want. Let's say give you a scenario. Let's say you're coming in, you're taking over a program that has only won. I'll give you an example. When I came into Cal State Fullerton, they had won like 11 games the year before. The season I sat out, they were like 10-7. We were like 10-17. But then the next year we went 16-11. No, 21-11, and then we went 16-11. So we kind of turned it around. And then the year after me, it wasn't the year after me, it was 2 years after me, they made the NCAA tournament, lost in the first round of Wisconsin. So let's say you're coming in and taking over a program like that, where you now have come in, they've only won an average of 10 games over the last 5 years. So they're 50 and 120. What is going to be your primary focus outside of that group, the exercise you just did with the group A, group B, and group C? What is your primary focus when you first step on campus, or a high school program, for example? What is your first focus when you step on campus?
Yeah. So in a situation like that, right? And I could give you a personal example. When we first got to Marshall University, the program wasn't where we wanted it to be. So obviously, one of our biggest things was we got to take it to the next level. We have to increase the performance here with our kids and with our staff. And a couple of things that we did was we developed a vision. I think that that's a huge part of what you want to do wherever you are. Like, the first thing I would do is get some clarity on what exactly do I want the outcome to be of this team. So let's say, okay, you just got this job. Now you try to figure out, okay, what do I need to do? Instead of doing that, I would sit down and I would be thinking, what do I want this team to look like this year? What are my strengths? What are my weaknesses that I can already see? I can already handpick out, right? You may have to sit some kids down, have those one-on-one meetings with those kids and let them know what are your standards of your team that you already made before. Hopefully you did that before you got this job. But you should have some standards in place that you can already come in and put into place right away. That will give you the structure that you need in order to develop that visibility, that vision, because you got to have the vision that you can see, and then you have to apply. You got to look at the problems and see, okay, what are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? What opportunities do I have inside of what I already have, as far as your budget, your recruiting expenses, your operating budget? All of these different type of things come into play when you talk about changing the program. And then once I know that, I'm gonna pick 3 main areas, and it may be my recruiting, maybe my player development, and maybe my staff. And I'm gonna say, okay, these 3 areas I'm gonna touch every single day. And I'm gonna look at my calendar and I'm gonna put in my phone every single day, when am I on the phone with a kid recruiting or talking to a coach to get some better players? When am I talking to my staff and getting everybody to have the same mission and the same goals and the same clarity that I have as the leader? And when am I actually doing academics or whatever else you want to put in there? But I would get 3 things, because you don't want to stretch yourself so far to where you don't focus on anything.
Right. With that being said, I know it's coming into a program. So with that, you're focusing on those 3 things or whatnot, whatever it may be. So let's just say it's skill development, or if it's a team that hasn't won games and you're trying to keep them motivated, because you're trying to keep them motivated for the simple fact that you know that they're going to win. Okay, because at some point you're going to win a game. Where some of it may be luck, some of it may just be your night, some of it may just be you're just simply better than a team and you're better prepared. So with that, when you're losing so much, how would you keep your team motivated to still believe that, hey, we're going to win a game? How would you keep them motivated? Because, I mean, think about it. If I know for me as a player at Cal State Fullerton, and Nick can attest to this, when I was sitting out, man, I was looking around like, yo, did I make the right decision to come here? We're getting beat night in and night out. But the bright spot was my coach, Bob Burton, would put the guys that were sitting out, myself, Jermaine Harper, transferred from Virginia, a few others, and some of the guys that were returning, we would play the older guys who were in the program before he took over. So we would play them, and we would see the bright spots where, okay, we're going to be good. We just got to be patient with this, because I'm telling you, my first 2 weeks, and Nick was my go-to guy. I talk to Nick all the time. That's why I got him in this. I was talking to him like, yo, did I make the right decision? Are we going to win? I'm finding it hard to keep motivated because I'm from South Carolina and I was in California. So you talking, I'm in Orange County, my daddy and my family way over here, and I'm out here, and it ain't like I could just get in my car and drive home and say, you know what, I ain't staying here. I had to figure it out. So as a coach for a player like myself or somebody similar to myself, how would you keep that player motivated, or how would you keep that team motivated? Because what if you're young? What if you're just freshmen and sophomores? How would you keep that team motivated?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I definitely think that you can attest to that, saying that when you in South Carolina and you going to school in Cali and you getting beat, I can only imagine that feeling. But I've been around a ton of kids when it comes to different situations like this, and it's all based on what you are focusing on, right? Even as a player, you may be focused on your minutes. Am I playing the amount of minutes that I want to play? As a coach, am I winning the games that I want to win? So wherever your focus goes, that's where your energy is going to flow. So if my focus is on me winning and losing games, obviously my energy is going to be all up in that, as if that's the source. That's not the source. The source is, what are you committed to doing? It doesn't matter about the wins or the losses. So what I would tell my kids is, and we've done this before when we was at Marshall, our first year was not that good. Like I was sitting there, my first time there at practice, I went to we had our staff meeting, how we talk before practice, what we're gonna do, our practice plans, getting our structure together, which every coaching staff should do. You should have a structure. So we getting our structure together. Next thing you know, we hit the court and we went over everything. And I've been coaching my whole life, and I got to the court and I had forgot everything. I was literally standing there like, yo, I don't even know if I should be coaching no more. I literally forgot all the plays, all of the practice plan, every single thing. I had never touched the ball before. And I had lost it. But I realized that I was focused on trying to make an impression instead of just being me. So I focus on with my kids, letting them know, yeah, we may be losing right now, but look at the good things that's coming out of it. Last game that we lost, we only had 7 turnovers versus the other game when we had 24. You know what I'm saying? Like, looking at, okay, what have we gotten better at? And what are we willing to change and adjust in order to get to where we want to go? Because we can't spend too many nights and too many days worried about what has already happened, because that's already done. We have to keep playing for the next game. And that's the one thing that I would tell that coach or that staff. We got to keep going, because in your progress, in your process, and your go through, that's where you really accomplish who you are and what you do.
Right. Yeah, I think, like you said something a little bit ago, that every coach that's taking over a program should assess what they have. That brings me back to one of my videos I did, I think it was last week, talking about you got to assess and evaluate what you have, and then you have to prepare it, and then you can execute it. Because anytime I interview for a job or I look, I make sure I know what that team has, what their record was. I go back and look at a record from 10 years back just to see, because you never know when somebody's going to ask you, hey, what was our record last year? Me, I would ask that in an interview, like, what was our record last year? Name me one player or two players on our roster. Who's our leading scorer if stats are there? So you talked about practice a little bit. So that leads me into my next question. How important is practice planning? Like, how much time would you say that you really need to allot in preparing for a practice? Because I know a practice is, to us, 2 hours seems like it's not enough time. To somebody who's not a basketball person, they're coming, or to a parent, so to speak, especially in high school, 2 hours is like an eternity. And they're like, man, y'all went 2 hours. Y'all still going at 2 hours and 15 minutes? and for us, it's not enough. You know, at D1 levels, you got those rules. You can only practice so many hours in a week and so on down the line. But how as a staff, and this is helping me, and I think I can say this is helping Nick too, but how much time should you really allot with your staff in adequately preparing for practice? And how important is practice planning?
You know what, Coach Jay, that's a very important question. And when you're at the college level, you get to see that a lot more as opposed to being at a high school level or any other level, because of the time is a constraint, right? You can only do stuff for a certain amount of time. And
Right.
people think that the time is a lot, but it's really not that much. So you want to really be strategic with your time. So it all goes back to what we talked about before. Like when you're building a program and you have your vision, if let's say that you said that, oh, okay, what is your coaching identity, right? What do you want your team to look like? If you want a fast-paced team, you need to be doing fast-paced practice drills, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can't get in the game and think that they're going to automatically know how to come off a ball screen just because you worked on it for 15 minutes in a random practice, right? And those are the things that you will be able to get in front of when you have a practice plan. So a good amount of time, I mean, we would sit there and talk about practice plans for at least 30 to 45 minutes. And it was nothing for us to go into an hour, 2 hours talking about what we wanted to do at practice, why we wanted to do those things, and what is that going to help? Because you don't want to get into doing the same thing over and over and you're getting the same results. You want to be able to switch things up to keep the kids on their toes and keep them interested in what you're doing, keeping that innovation, which is inside of the SILT, which we teach in our program. But you want to make sure that you're keeping creativity so the kids can actually flow with the flow of the practice. But practice plan, in my opinion, if you don't walk out there with a practice plan, you ain't no coach.
You got to have one of those. I used to go to Nick and try to get the practice plan and see what we were doing.
I have a question, Coach.
Hey, because I sometimes, like, especially, and then even at Western Kentucky, man, we had to see that practice plan because Coach Felton might put 30 minutes to circle the wagons, or Coach Burton might have us running for, hey, look, Coach, we can't be doing all that. We got a game tomorrow, so we trying to figure it out. But so while we're on this practice subject, I know in high school, for me, I kind of base it on what we did wrong in the game before, and not necessarily what we did wrong, but more so what we didn't do right. Meaning, not because we lost the game, but how can I fix my turnovers, or how can I fix my passing so that we can get in that, or we didn't get in that offense better, or we didn't get in that defense the correct way. So I guess I would say for the average high school coach, I would say their focus would be on fixing themselves. Well, for me, I'm going to fix my team because that's what I can control. I can't control what the other team brings about when they come into a game. I can prepare for what they do. But at the end of the day, like if I play fast and you can't prepare for me because you don't play that way. So you can only control yourself at that point. So how would you go about what you decide what you want to be your focus in practice? So I gave you, for me, I'm going to focus on us and what we do, because if I can execute what we do, then I feel like I can be successful on the other side of that. But on the college level, that may not always be necessary because there goes into a lot of time of preparing a scouting report. You're watching film.
Coach JB, you're off. Coach, do you see him?
He is froze.
Yeah, he is froze. Let's text him right now. He probably still talking.
Yep. He gonna come back. It'd be like, you got that?
Well, yeah, we got it. Yeah. Great question. We'll see what he does. I got some questions for you too when we're on practice.
Okay.
But we'll wait till he gets back because he's leading. He might be able to hear us. He just might not be able to see us. Or now it's just us. So we'll see. He probably logged himself out and he's going to log himself back in maybe.
Yeah.
We'll see. So where are you coaching at now, Coach?
Me and my wife got a basketball training business.
So you did. I heard that. So that's what you guys do then. You don't do. You're not with any team. You run your own training
Yeah,
facility.
we do some consultant work with other coaches.
Do you
Yeah.
run an AAU program or are you just strictly training?
No, we got an AAU program. We have we're more so on the girl side. So we have Long Island First Ladies is our AAU program. So we're based out of Long Island, and we got kids that go, I would say, low level D1, high level D2, local kids that we train and we work with.
Those are good players.
Yeah, very talented
players.
players.
Yeah.
No big names and stuff like that.
Well, there's only a few of those big names. You get a team with a couple low level D1, D2 kids, you're going to have a really good team, at least in my experience. That's tough to do. There's only a few of those teams that have the real big time players.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where are you coaching at now?
I'm at El Toro High School in Orange County, California.
Okay.
And I'm head boys coach here. Well, I mean, it's going okay. I mean, we're right in the, as everyone is. I mean, this is our, spring and summer is so important to our program, and we're just missing out on all of it. But obviously, there are bigger things at hand. But it's going well. This senior class, this will be my fourth year. This upcoming season will be my fourth season. So I've had these guys since freshman year, and I had projected them kind of in my mind and with my staff as being one of our better teams. But we'll have to see. I mean, I talked to a guy today who said that they don't know if they're even going to be sports until 2021. And this guy's been talking to higher ups in California and in the Senate. No, not the Senate, but the government in California. And he had spoken to some pretty prominent people who said that we might not even have anything until 2021.
Oh, wow.
That's the worst case scenario maybe for sports, but it's on the, like, people have talked about it. It's on the table.
Wow.
So, I mean, I don't know. Jay just texted me.
Okay.
So I don't know. I mean, we'll just have to see. I guess I have a coaches meeting today, and then I'll have a booster club meeting, parent meeting, hopefully tomorrow. I'm trying to arrange that and see what that looks like. But, I mean, you've been in college programs. I haven't been in a college program since I coached Jamal, 15 years ago now. But, high school, it's 5% of my job is on the court. 10% of my job is on the court. Fundraising, booster, parents, academics, scheduling, gym scheduling, weight training, and a host of other things take up the majority of my time. So, it's a big job. And we had about 80 kids in our program last year. Give or take, with managers, give or take. I have 5 teams. Out here in Southern California, they have a freshman A, a freshman B, a JV, a sophomore team, which is like a JVB, and a varsity team. Dang. So, yeah. So, you have, there he is. So, I have 70 kids and then plus some managers. Here we go. You good?
Yeah, I have no clue what happened, but hey, we're back at it. It's okay.
Back at it.
It went back, picking back up on Facebook, so we're good. So
wow.
I was in the middle of talking about how are you deciding what your focus is on practice. So let's go ahead and get that question answered before something happens again. Now, I think we got some weather issues outside, so it may have tapped on to my server. But so, Coach, how would you decide what you're going to focus on in practice? What's your determining factor?
At the high school level, you're saying?
It doesn't matter. Just speak in general. You can do it for high school level. You can do it for college level. It just depends because everybody who knows who's watching. So I just want to be in general.
Yeah. Well, me and Coach Nick was just talking about like the high school level. So I'm gonna go ahead and go to the high school level.
Okay, cool.
Because so after I stopped coaching, so I meet my fiance at the time, and so we get serious, right? So we get serious, and then we're sitting there talking, and we was like, yo, so how we gonna do this? Like you running around coaching all these other places. My wife is just a born hustler. Like she refs, she coaches, she trains. She was doing everything when I met her. So I was like, all right, well, she's a high level player. So I was like, let's do something with basketball together. So we started this basketball training business, and that's when I walked away from coaching. So I eventually I got the itch again, because we all know like training is one thing, but coaching is a totally different thing. Like when you talk about training, development, and then you talk about coaching, those are two different platforms. So I had missed that whole coaching sense of having a team and being involved. So I told my wife, and she was like, let's get a team. So we started out with a high school girls team. So I'm gonna go from that angle. And I also had coached the JV boys team that didn't play much basketball. So that was an experience itself. So when I think about coaching those younger teams at the high school level, a couple of things that I always focus on is, first of all, fundamentals. I always, at some point in my practice plan, I have an allotted time for fundamentals, and I'm talking about very basic. And I'll bring the level up as we keep going throughout the year. But for an example, I have my kids start off. They do pair passing and dribbling. 1, 2, 3, boom, one-handed pass. 1, 2, 3, cross, boom, one-handed pass. 1, 2, 3, chest pass, and then crossing between the legs. Then we get some combo moves. But passing and dribbling, I always touch in my practice plan with my younger groups. Then I'm going to always use something that I want to incorporate that we do as a team. So just like Coach Jay said, you like faster pace. I'm the same way. So I have at least 2 fast-paced drills, fast break drills. Let's get up and down. I always have conditioning in my practice plan. No matter what, you are going to run, and my kids know that. So, those are some things that I always touch on in my practice. And then once we get to, let's say we played, or I know we're going to play somebody, I'm going to put my own brief scout in there. Like, it's not going to be like at the college level, but I am going to give the action that team is going to do. So, for example, if they're going to run a lot of ball screens, I'm going to be saying, hey, we're guarding the ball screen with a double. We're going to double off the big, and we're going to rotate. And then I'll make it very simple for them. I'll say, we're going to rotate and don't leave the basket. Because in college, you can talk about the rotations and you can break those different things down, and the kids will be able to pick everything up because of the basketball IQ. But at the high school level, they may have not played that much basketball to understand that level. So I want to meet them where they are. So I'll tell them very, very simple things and make the game simple for them so they can make the mistakes, because I want to correct the errors. So I spend a lot of time correcting those errors during the game, very quick and on the fly. Hey, now we're going to switch and we're going to go underneath the ball screen. But we would have already worked on that in practice because we know that the ball screen's coming.
Gotcha. So, with that, so would you say that your primary focus in your practice is going to be fundamentals, depending on the level of team that you got? Because you've already assessed your team, you've already evaluated, now you've prepared yourself before you have to, because coaches have to assess, evaluate, and then you have to prepare yourself to be able to prepare them. So would you say in your preparation that your primary focus is going to be the fundamental action?
I'm definitely going to focus on the fundamentals, but my primary action is to meet every kid where they are. And, that may look different. For example, I had a JV boys team. My first year, we won 2 games. We went 2-9 in the league. The next year, we went 9-1. And a couple of things that I had shifted was I realized, right, I was coaching them the way that I wanted them to play. I was not coaching them with what they could do. So I had to make that shift as a coach. So even though I'm always going to focus on fundamentals and a faster pace of the game and being able to switch up my defensives, which is what I love to do, I'm also going to be coaching where they are. So I love to meet them where they are. So just like Coach Jay just said, with making sure that I know the talent level, I know where each kid is. That's the reason that that's so essential and so important, is because I want to be able to literally go, okay, you know what? Maybe this drill is not for this team, and I might not do that drill, but I'm always going to be working on fundamentals, the pace of the game, and having the kids buy in. I'm working on that constantly because my communication is the main thing that I love to use with my kids to get them to buy in.
So with that means, so I'm playing a little bit of devil's advocate here, but I'm understanding you. So you're using your pace of the game, your fundamentals, and meeting kids where you are. That is basically those are your three primary focuses as a coach in your program, which will then in turn make you coach them where they are. You're working on the pace of the game, which is what you like to do. So now they're playing at your pace, and then you're working on fundamentals, and now you're creating them to be those individual players that they need to be, because like I know, at the end of the day, we can run 1,000 plays, but if we don't put the ball in the hole, it doesn't matter. So you got to be able to create. Ball players. Like, that's one thing I give John Calipari credit for. Like, you go to Kentucky, you're going to be a pro in 2 years. If that's just who you are. If you're McDonald's All-American, you're going to be a pro. If you want to go and be coached and be groomed, I would go play for Greg Marshall or Shaka Smart. I mean, I'm just, you go to school for different reasons. Some people just go to school because they like the big name of the school. So with that, would you say that individual workouts are important at the high school and college level? Because a lot of coaches, not going to say all coaches, so let me put that out there. I'm not going to say all coaches, but some coaches don't do the 4-man, 5-man individual workouts. So how important do you think individual workouts are? Because for me at Western Kentucky and at Cal State Fullerton, I think that's where I became a player. I could play, but I think my development happened in those sessions because I was able to go and make that inside out crossover between my leg move. And if I mess it up, I can go back and do it again. It wasn't really about the makes or misses. It was about, okay, now I'm on the block. I got my move, jump hook. I got my counter move back to the baseline. Then I got my up and under. I got my counter move to my counter move, and so on down the line. I think that was where I was able to perfect the craft of the game. Yes, people say you get good, you get better by playing. Yeah, you get better by playing, put yourself in game time situations. But you look at LeBron, and I saw a video of Kevin Durant the other day. It might have been an old video, but these guys, they put in the work by themselves. So again, how important is individual workouts to you at any level? Let's just go high school and college. So how important is that to you?
Well, I think I think I'm the wrong person to ask that question to, because not only do I feel like individual workouts are important for the student athlete, I also think it's important for the coaching staff. Mm-hmm. For the simple fact of, you will learn your players' tendencies more, and you'll be able to, once again, meet them where they are, right? If I got a kid that is doing between the legs, and then they get to the basket and they just throwing it off the backboard, you playing in numerous games ain't gonna do nothing but make me pissed off when you keep doing that.
Right.
So the only way that you're gonna be able to fix that is to get that kid in an environment where you can break that down and tell them, these are some moves that you can start to use that can help you to, when you get to the basket, a couple of different finishes that you can put on your game. And now what you're doing is you're investing with that student athlete. An individual workout is a great opportunity for a coach to build a relationship with that player. Like, just think about it. You just said, as a player, you felt like most of your development happened when you was in a workout. And right. You got the person on the phone now was working you out.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That's where it's at. Like, and that's literally how I built my coaching philosophy. Getting rebounds, cleaning the backboard, doing individual workouts when nobody else wanted to be in the gym, when nobody else was there, when it wasn't cool, when it wasn't like, oh man, you a coach. It was like, yo, and when the players noticed that I was there no matter what and working them out as well, guess who they asked for advice from?
You. Nick will tell you, and Nick, you can feel free to chime in right here. Nick will tell you, like, Nick spent countless hours in the gym with me, just me rebounding, and Nick could shoot it too. So don't let Nick fool you. Nick could shoot. So we would shoot 100 shots, rotate every 10 shots. We'd start inside the 3-point line, go back outside the 3-point line. We go off the dribble. I might be at the gym an extra hour, 2 hours, maybe an hour or two before practice, and he knows game day after pregame meal, I went straight back to the gym. I went to the weight room. I went in the training room. I was on the court. We were supposed to be on the court, about an hour before, right, Nick?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I usually got on the court about an hour and a half, hour and 45. So when my teammates hit the floor with 60 minutes on the clock, I was already full blown sweating, drenched, drinking water, and they looking at me like, "What you been doing?" I've been working out because even when I got to the D League, I kept that same habit. I would go and get in there and uh, just work out. Like because Kobe used to do that a lot. Kobe would on game day. Kobe would shoot at 8 in the morning. Like we'd have our pregame shoot around. Then Kobe would come in and shoot. I watched him shoot one day for an hour after our pregame practice, and man, he shot for an hour, and he was there 2 hours before they hit the floor. While we were in our practice, he was in the weight room. Then he'd come out of the weight room, then he'd shoot for another hour and a half. Then here came Derek Fisher. Then here came Paul Gasol. Then here came Lamar Odom. The guys that you think, and then here comes Andrew Bynum. And it's like, these guys really do work on their game. Like, because you have some pros, they get to that level, they just like, all right, I'm here, I'm good. I'm going to do enough to stay here. So I'm going to ask both of y'all this question. I'm going to start with you, Coach DP, because this is, it's about me and you. Not really about me and you, but it's just, Nick's kind of along for the ride. Nick wanted to be my supporter because I hit him up. I was like, yo. He was like, man, I'd be happy to do whatever you want me to do. It's like, all right. So as a coach, I think two of my best personality characteristic traits are I'm defensive minded and I'm a rebounding guy. So as a coach, that also helps me develop mental toughness and physical toughness. So as a coach, what are your two characteristics that if I ask Coach Walsh about Devrinn Paul, what is he going to say the two coaching characteristics are that you have?
Yeah, so I think Jeff gonna have a lot to say, but just to start off, I would say first of all, I'm a great teacher. Okay. I'm a teacher in education. I'm a great teacher on the court because I like I said, I wasn't as gifted on the court, so I had to work to get to that type of skill level. So for me, it's all about you can get there. You just have to put the work in. So that's one thing. I'm definitely a very good teacher. And the next thing is I'm a great motivator. So, I could definitely get a lot of kids to do a lot of things that other coaches might not be able to get them to do through different things that I do as a coach, which ultimately makes me a great recruiter. So that was one of my favorite things in college was in that college game. I mean, we all know recruiting is a huge piece of what you do. And I was a great recruiter. So, those are a few things that I would say as a coach.
Nick?
I would say if you ask someone on my staff, I would hope that they would say that I'm the hardest worker. I open the gym. I'm there before the second hardest worker, and I close the gym. And that I'm going to be in the gym working with you, or I'm going to be in the gym working on my craft, whatever. Even as a player, you might not know if I'm in my office doing stuff, I'm working on program related things like me and coach were talking about, but I'm working on our behalf, our team's behalf, whether you know what it is or not. And then we get on the court, hardest working coach out there. We talked about practice plans and working up a sweat as a coach and getting after it with your players. Those are things that I'd like them to say. I hope that they would say. And then the second would be that I'm a servant, and that, it's about serving the school and serving the community and serving the players. So like when my players graduate, we're helping them get into college. When our players have issues off the court, we're at their house helping them. We're getting them in and out when they need. That's a California thing for you guys who are out of state. But we're driving them places. We're taking them home. We're meeting with parents. And when the floor needs cleaning, I'm on my hands and knees cleaning the floor. When the locker room needs cleaning, I'm running the vacuum cleaner when need be. So I serve that program like it is my own, it's a family, and I run that family like I would run my own family, which is the servant leader. And so those are the two things that I would hope that represent me as hard work and servant leadership.
So I think those are great. And Nick, yes, you're the guy that's going to be in the gym sun up, sundown. You stayed late after coaches. You didn't have to, and you did. So that translates over to you as a coach. So I know those kids are getting the best things possible. So I think we talked about, Coach DP, you went inside and read my brain a little bit. So we started talking about identities. how important do you think it is for a team to have an identity? And is that identity based off the personality of the coach? I can tell you for me, you'll find my teams, they're going to play defense. We're going to put pressure on you. When you pull up in our parking lot, you're already going to feel us. We already met you there. We're going to greet you when you get off the bus. If you go to the bathroom to wash your hands, we're going to be washing our hands next to you. And rebounding was one of my staples, even at Cal State Fullerton, because it was inbred in me at Western Kentucky. I went to the offensive glass every single possession. I think my senior year, I averaged out of my 8 rebounds, 3.5 of them were offensive rebounds.
Wow.
So like almost half of my rebounds were offensive rebounds. And tell you the truth, because we had a stellar point guard, I had a stellar point guard out there, and I had wings that could shoot it. A lot of times I would get points off of offensive rebounds or get fouled and go to the free throw line because I didn't care. Like I wasn't the star who needed to have the ball to be a star to score. I knew to move around. I knew to box out because nobody's going to go offensive glass. So I know for me in my practice, you're going to see my guy. You're going to see my team going. I had a boys team a few years ago. We got 23 offensive rebounds in the game. We were able to win that game because we converted 13 of those.
Who's your shooting coach, Jay?
Huh?
23 offensive rebounds. Who's your shooting coach?
You're right. Well, we had some guys. I had some guys that could shoot it, but that particular night we were on the road. That's the crazy part. So that's not the crazy part, but we were on the road and we just totally couldn't buy a bucket. But we won the game because we were able to convert 26 extra points, or at least 26 extra points off of offensive rebounds. So how important is it for your identity to take on the personality of the coach, or should your team have an identity? And if so, why is that important?
So I think that having an identity is definitely important. It's so important that in the 4 quarters program that I do with my elite clients, the first thing that I go over is your coaching identity. It's like you are literally the CEO of the company of you. So like you are walking around and putting out your brand awareness every single time you open your mouth, you talk to somebody, you coach a game, you coach one kid, like you're putting your stamp of approval on this kid. So if you walk out of the game as the coach and feel like, man, that was terrible, like they look horrible out there. I mean, it has a lot to do with you as well. Like, it doesn't mean that the kids, and we all have had teams where we're just like, yo, I don't really know what's going on. We all done been there. But at the end of the day, you have to still be able to put your own touch on it. And that looks a lot different. But, you know, a couple of things I think about inside of coaching identity is, who are you? You know what I'm saying? Like, I think that's a major thing that coaches have to ask themselves is like, who am I? And not what do you do, but who are you, right? Like, I know I'm inspiring. I know that I can motivate you. I know that if I get you on the phone, I could probably get you to commit. You know what I'm saying? And me knowing those things, now I'm able to work in my strength a little bit better. So you got to know what your identity is, because you're able to not just start reaching for random things. If you don't know who you are, you'll go to all these coaching clinics, and before you know it, you got a book full of plays and all type of stuff that you want to do, but your team is still losing. Your team is still looking a hot mess. Why? Because you don't know who you are. You've been so consumed with all of this other stuff, you haven't produced anything. And that's one thing that we got to be as coaches, is we got to be producers. We can't be consumers all the time. You can't be reading so many books that you don't apply anything. Like, you got to get in the game. And that's where your coaching identity will actually raise to the top. Just like you said, if you're an aggressive coach, if you're aggressive on defense, it should show in your team at some point. That's just because it should be you, and you should be in the team. You have a lot to do with their development as players, as well as just kids in general. Like, I think that a huge part of a coach's success is how many kids actually come back to you and talk to you.
Right.
There's some coaches, it's like players out there like, yo, I ain't never, ever going back there. Never. And they won games. So right. I don't think that it's about winning and losing. I just think that when you know who you are, it makes what you do even that much more sweeter.
Right. Yeah. So All right, now we're gonna get into a little bit of X and O's now. So it'll get on to you. I'm gonna start with ultimately, what is your coaching philosophy? What do you believe is the way to do it? Like it's your way. It's Coach DP's way. Nobody else's. I know, and that comes from a combination of being under Matt Daniel, Jeff Waltz, your uncle. That I mean, you get it from everywhere because mine has been pulled from Coach Felton. I took my defense and rebounding tenacity from Coach Felton. I took my running and up tempo from Coach Burton. I took my being able to be an X and O's guy from Scott. I can't think of his name. He was my D League coach. I took my conditioning and military attitude from my first coach overseas. So, you know, my high school coach, I got, you know, the different defenses that we play. So your coaching, just like you're playing, your coaching ability comes from, yes, it's your personality, but it comes from a group of people. So with that being said, what is Coach DP's coaching philosophy that he believes in, that he's meshed together from this different variety of brains that are all good basketball minds? Because I don't know Jeff, but personally, but I do know Matt Daniel, and I know what he does in the gym. I know he goes after it. So how have you meshed that together? How have you meshed it together to make your coaching personality, your coaching philosophy, excuse me, and then what is your coaching philosophy that you've meshed together out of all these personalities?
Oh man, we would be on the phone call all night if I had to go through my whole coaching philosophy. But you know, to make it plainer and simple and time efficient, I would say a major thing that I love to do is I work from the inner to the outer, right? So I love to first of all get to know who I'm coaching. You know, I may not even like with my girls. When we started AAU practice before all of the COVID-19 stuff popped off, I was just talking to her. Like we was having practice and I would let my assistants run the practice. I just walk around and talk to my kids because I want to get to know who you are. So I would say a major part of my coaching is first of all, player relationships. I'm a big relationships type of person. Once again, because I know my strength, right? That's why it's so important to know who you are. I know my strength is in relationships. So I'm gonna try to get you to a relationship so I could actually get through to you. Now, when we step onto the court, I love to go with player development because I firmly believe that your skill development can enhance over a short period of time if you put the right work in. So player development is huge with me. And then I move into, I love to get up and down the court. I'm a very fast-paced coach, but at the same time, I love to be able to slow it down and catch you off guard. So those are two things that I would say inside of my coaching philosophy is, first of all, I'm gonna push the basketball. I'm telling my kids, shoot the first open shot. Like when I was at Marshall, we on the men's side, you had Dan D'Antoni, Mike D'Antoni's brother. So they was running that whole 7 seconds or less, or I don't even think it got to 7 seconds sometime. So they was doing all of that. So we were kind of looking at that and seeing what they were doing. So I'm a very, very firm believer in the ball screen. I will ball screen you to death. And I run a lot of sets off of my ball screen with some misdirection stuff. So I love misdirection. I love ball screens and getting up and down the court. And defensively, I know the kids don't want to play defense. So I tell them, in order to play more offense, you have to commit to defense because we can get more possessions. So if we can get more possessions, that's more opportunities for us to score. So we have to lock in on defense. So I love to switch up my defenses. I play a lot of different, I give a lot of different looks throughout a game.
You sound like me when it comes to switching up them defenses. But I'm going to tell you, if you start trying to ball screen me to death, you better have a trap offense because I'm gonna trap you every time you come out.
Something for that trap too.
Because I personally, and this is gonna take us a little somewhere else, but I'm gonna get back. I don't think kids really understand how effective a good pick and roll is, a good ball screen, and a guy who can come off and create. I don't think people understand it. Like I still think that is the hardest action in basketball to guard. I don't think it's 3,000 screens off a set. I don't think it's 3,000 down screens. I don't think it's back screens. I don't think it's double screens. I don't even think it's cross screens. I think that the hardest action to guard is the pick and roll, because if you have a good ball handler and the big hedge is too high, well, then you're going to hit that roll man if the defense doesn't rotate. Or you got a pick and pop kind of guy that makes it even much harder. Or you got a point guard who can split that and then can break down your defense and create it. So I still think that's the hardest thing. So I think that's why for me, I'm going to trap. And for me, I think one of my slogans is simple equals fast. Because if I keep it simple and you know that you're going to trap at all times or you're going to play hard, I think that, and like you said, the more you tell them to play defense to create more offense, to get more offensive possessions, well, I believe that my defense has to create my offense. Because yes, I like X and O's, but I don't want to give you 30 plays and you can only remember 2 of them, and that's still the only 2 that we end up running. I want you to be able to, yes, slow it down if we have to, but I want you to put so much pressure that we're going to get out and run. So, all right, now you get to use your board a little bit. And Nick, I'm picking you some too. So I have this thing. What is your favorite offensive set? And don't give me the set that you gave me the other day, the 1-4 back screen with the backdoor cut with the ball screen.
Oh, the elbow set?
Yeah, I like that. I actually wrote that down because that is a great quick hitter, because when people come out in the man-to-man, they don't know that you're going to use those 2 bigs to screen, and that big can actually handle the ball, and they're coming off. That was a great play. Matter of fact, you know what? Show that to Nick. I want Nick to see that, because Nick can put that in his repertoire, because I put it in mine. I watched that video like 5 times, by the way.
All right, so I actually put this play in because I had a JV team and they were struggling to score. I mean, we looked like, I'm talking about like bad news bears, right? So I was thinking, and I was like, how can I make this very simple for them, but still have some movement and some flow in this offense, right? So what I did was I said, all right, you know what? I want to eventually get one of my best players to the elbow. But we all know if you start out on the elbow, you're not going to be able to get the ball there. So what I said was, all right, we're going to start in a 1-4 flat look, right? And as soon as we come across half court, I'm raising everybody up. Now we're going to a 1-4 high look, right? And and a couple different options, which I didn't talk about this on the video, is I'll also just put the best player right here. I'll call elbow, call their name out, and just throw the ball to them and say, we work on a rip through from the elbow every day in practice. They don't know that it's for the actual play, but that's what it's for. And I just tell them, catch the ball and get to the basket and make a play. And I literally call the play elbow and name it after the kid. But, all right, so my first look is I'm going to try to get the ball to this elbow to this kid. This is one of my best players right here, right? And you could put a guard here as well. It doesn't really matter. But I like to put a 4. I like to have a nice stretch 4 that can handle the ball. So I get the ball to the 4 right there, right? My first look is I'm going to bring this kid that popped up. So now I got this kid here. I got this kid here. I'm going to bring this kid. This kid is going to now turn, face the basket. I'm going to take this kid back door right away, right? I'm looking for that. If I don't have it, then that's totally fine. It's not really the look that we wanted, right? I'm going to bring this kid off of this fake handoff, right? And then flare him out to the wing. Now, the next thing is, notice you got the 2-man game on this side. You can run. You can do anything that you want to do on this side with that 2-man game. But I really want to get this action. So I got this person with the ball. I'm looking to bring this kid over and set an actual ball screen, post-to-post ball screen. After we set that, I'm going to roll this kid. This kid probably didn't know what the hell was happening on the wing. Now they out in the corner because they scared because I got that 2-man game going on that side. It's all a distraction to get the best player to come off a pick and roll with another post player with no help in the middle. Now we're going to make this kid have to make a decision. Who are you going to guard? And most of the time, you don't really see this type of action. So the kids don't know how to guard it. And you got your best player coming off this ball screen, getting to the basket. And I'll tell this kid, you're going to shade. You're looking to see what happens. If your defender steps up, get to that corner and shoot that open ball.
So what happened to your I'm pointing at the screen like I'm there. But what happened to the back door? Where did they go? Did they go all the way through, or did they pop back out?
Back to the ball side corner.
Back to the corner. So just back door, just to give a different action to go back. Would you say that is your favorite set?
Nah. I mean, I actually like the Iverson sets. If I'm not running the ball screen, because my favorite set is I want my best player to have the ball and set the ball screen because I done drilled them on coming off that ball screen, and I got a 4 that can roll it or pick and pop. But if I had to run an actual set, I like to run the Iverson sets.
Okay.
Want me to draw one of those up?
Yeah, draw me one. Let us see it.
All right, so with my Iverson set, and this is how you could get them because I could start off 1-4 low again, and they may think I'm about to run the same thing. So starting at 1-4 low, flash up, right? This kid now, and you want to know if you got a right-handed kid, I would probably bring them off to come on this side, right? So now everybody raised up. This kid is going to turn, set this screen, turn, set this screen. They're coming off high here. This kid is now going low underneath it, right? So I'm looking to get the ball to this kid. Hopefully somebody got hit on one of these rub screens and you could get that drive to the basket. Now that's against a team that sucks and can't guard anybody. But normally what will happen is you now get this kid with the ball. You got the kid with the ball, and I'm going to go set. I'm going to have my post player go set a cross screen. Now I'm going to curl this off into either you could flash, just depends on what type of post players you got, or you could go straight into a post up.
Okay.
After they set that, I'm going to bring them right back, and you know what I'm running. I'm running that ball screen, pick and roll. Now this big is going to slip to this side. Now we got the pick and roll action on that strong side.
You also, with that action, could take that big that went to the post. If you run that pick and roll, they can actually set a back screen on the other big's man. So now you have a back door, and that big who dove is probably your pick and pop guy. So now they're going to have a wide open jump shot. I actually have that play too in my repertoire. I stole it from Kentucky because John Calipari runs that play a lot.
Yeah, that is my favorite play, Iverson. I literally call it I got Iverson 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
I call that Kentucky and just go with it because that's where I got it from. So probably one of the next to last questions here. So if I'm getting ready to play a team that's coached by Coach DP, what defense can I expect? And what defense can I expect based upon if you're going based upon the personnel on your team? But in a perfect world, so you can answer based on personnel, but then I want you to end it with, in a perfect world, if I was coming to play a Coach DP team, what kind of defense am I going to see?
You know what? That's a great question because I would be trying to figure out this. It just depends on what I wake up. But most likely I'm going to be in man-to-man. I usually always start out in man, and then I like to switch it up from there. But I'm going to do a lot of crazy stuff. Like I had somebody ask me one time after a game, like, man, how many defenses did you run? I only ran 3, but my kids are calling out all type of stuff because I'll change if on a make or a miss from a free throw, we'll be in something different. So it just depends on what I feel like doing.
I did that. I had a team 2 years ago, and they hadn't made the playoffs, and we got to the playoffs, and I did some crazy stuff. Well, I did it twice. I took a triangle in 2 and inverted it. And made it like this. So now you had the triangle upside down. So I had the 2 up top. And then I actually went a 2, 1, 1, and 1. And people were looking at me like, my players were looking at me like, what is this? I was like, okay, let me help you. I said, you're the one, you're the top of the eye, right? She was like, yeah. I said, just step over to the block. And I said, the bottom of the eye, step over to the other block. I said, what do you have? So we have a box and 1. I said, okay, now go back to where you were. I said, so what do you have now? We still have a box and 1. I said, exactly. I said, because you're just in a 2, 1, 1. I said, now, if I really want to be crazy and be more spectacular, I said, flip-flop it. So then I went a 1, 1, 2.
Wow.
And 1. And they were like, what are you doing, coach? I was like, just let me do it. I took a triangle in 2, and then I flipped the triangle. So I had 2, 1. They're like, coach, we're going to get scored underneath. I said, no, you're not. I said, because when the ball goes to the corner or to the wing, the right side or left side wing is going to take it. The bottom person is going to drop to the block, and the other one's just going to drop backside to see what's going on. There's not going to be any openings because you're playing a zone. It's your base principles off for 2-3 zone. So a kid named Deion Holmes, when I was at this high school called Liberty, he was actually leading the nation in scoring. He was averaging like 46 a game. Okay. We were playing 2A basketball here in South Carolina. He came in, our game was number 6. So he had just came off 5 straight games of 60-point games.
What?
So I went, like he could really fill it up. He ended up scoring about 3,500 points in his career. He almost caught Ray Felton, but it's going to be hard to catch Ray Felton in Ivory Ladder in this state. But we got a girl down here right now. I'll talk about her in a minute. But we got a girl down here named Malaysia Fuller. Listen, we'll talk about her in a minute. But so I went to my mentor. I was like, one of my mentors was like, listen. He was like, I said, how do I do this? He was like, just do this. So I went to a diamond and one. So every time he caught the ball, I would double team him. He would give it up. So what I told my team was, I said, he's going to dunk. He's going to cross you over. He's going to hit a jumper. I said, but don't be mesmerized. I said, when he scores, just get the ball out, stick to our principles, get it in bounds within a second, get it back down the court, because we were trying to shoot in 12 seconds or less. So I wasn't quite 7 seconds, but we were 12 seconds or less. I was like, just get it up the court, get a shot on the rim, go after it on the offensive end. So long story short, he ends up fouling out, and we end up winning the game. Now, we were number 5 in the conference, and they were undefeated, and that jumped us from 5 to a 3-way tie for second. I was like, yes, cool, let's work with it. But I think defenses are good to switch up if you have them. But for me, in my perfect world, not even really in a perfect world, if I got 1 or 2 athletes, I'm going to be in your face. I'm going to pick you up. Those 2 are definitely going to pick you up when you get off the bus. They're going to greet you. They're going to walk you to your locker room. They'll be waiting on you after you get dressed and so on.
I mean, we are on the full court press.
Yeah, I mean that's where the name came from. I full court pressure. So that is one of the reasons why I chose that name. So this girl down here named Malaysia Fullerwandi. I don't know if you heard of her yet, but she's a 9th grader, man, and I watched her play in the upper state championship. That's the game before the state championship down here.
Mm-hmm.
She put in 42.
Wow.
She put in like 20. I think she had somewhere between 22 and 24 in the 3rd quarter by herself. Mm-hmm. So the kid can flat out, like, she just has an amazing natural ability. And I tell people, and I've had this conversation on Facebook through chat, the only person I've seen score like that is Ivory Ladder. Like Raymond Felton did it on the boys' side, but Ivory Ladder, like, because she came out a year after me, but that little mug, she could score the basketball. Okay. But man, Coach, I really do appreciate you taking some time to talk with me. I got one last question for you. Nick, me and you can chop it up a little longer. Coach, you can stay on and chop it up too if you want. What is your advice to aspiring young coaches? Like, I mean, I'm still young, Nick's young, you're young, but there's a generation that has to come behind us. I mean, I'm 36. Nick, you're 36 or somewhere in that area, right? Yeah. So, Coach, you're what, 34?
34.
Yeah. So there's that generation that's coming that's probably in that 24 to 27 range that they don't really know which way they're going coaching wise, but they know they want to coach. So what do you tell them? What is your advice to them?
You know what? Somebody told me something, and it really stuck with me when I first got into coaching. And Jeff actually told me something that pretty much changed my perspective. But you got to look at it like, if this is what you want to do, you have to put everything that you have into it. Like you have to be all in. And so if I'm talking to an aspiring coach, the first thing that I tell them is, this is about who you can become on this process. So through everything that you go through, every opportunity is an opportunity. So if you get an opportunity to go be a manager, go be the best manager that you can ever be, because you don't know what can happen. I literally got the video coordinator job because I was just a GA. Like I never applied for any coaching job that I ever got, because I was just doing what I do and being myself throughout the process. And because you have to be a sponge, everybody wants to be called a coach, but nobody wants to do the work. So if you do the work, the coaching title will literally chase you around. Like it's going to be like, at some point, somebody's going to be like, hey, do you want to be a coach? Sure. It's not about the title. It's about, you have to be committed to the process. So if I'm talking to a young coach, that's my number one thing. commit to the process of becoming the best version of yourself, and opportunities will literally chase you around.
Man, that is dope.
Good advice.
That is really like some good advice. Because a lot of coaches, what I started out I wish I would have had that 12 years ago. I was one of those coaches that, I saw a coaching job, click, I'm applying. Oh, I saw another, click, I'm applying. Oh, click, I'm applying. But then I learned that every job you apply for is not for you. And the jobs that are for you, you're gonna apply for them, but you're not gonna apply for them. Because that's not even just with coaching. That's with any kind of job. When it's a job for you, it's gonna be for you because me and you have talked, and Nick also knows this. When God has something for you, it's for you. It doesn't matter who it is. They can't do anything about it. They can't stop it. Nobody can close the door on it. Just like, I'm just be honest, the video went down, but this is a God idea. So this had to be put back up because this conversation was ordained to happen years before you and I ever crossed paths. But I'm firm in that. And now I've just learned, and like this pandemic has caused me to get closer to God, number one, but I've been enjoying the family time because I think a lot of times we get so busy in our own lives, even as a husband and my wife, we get busy in our own lives that we forget the whole aspect of family. Not in a bad way, because you're still family, you're gonna get your little family time here, you're gonna make time there, but having to be in the house with your wife, with your kids on a regular, and you have to spend that quality time is very important. And I think that now coaches have been able, I think our basketball generation is going to go to another level, players and coaches, because you've had, like me, I've had to spend this time outside of spending time with my family. I've had to spend this time digging in, developing, figuring out a plan. Okay, this is what I want to do with this. Okay, yes, I'm going to do this. Man, I done put together 2 PowerPoints, about to create a 3rd PowerPoint, because it's just, you're having to study, you're having to learn, and you're having to dig it up, and you have to work on your craft right now because guess what? Nobody else is looking. When we get off this computer here in a little while, I don't know what you're going to do. I don't know what Nick's going to do. Y'all don't know what I'm going to do, but I can tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to still be right here digging in and working on my craft, because when this is all said and done, I want to come out and be like, hey, I was able to do some work. This is what happened. So this whole pandemic thing has changed my view of a lot of things. I mean, it helps me get closer to God, but it's changed my view of a lot of things, because it's like when God wants you to have something, and he's already, and my pastor's been preaching about this, when it's in his will for you, there's nothing that's going to stop it. And I've been amazed and blessed at the things that have happened over the past 3 weeks, that I was just like, yo, when God says he's going to move, he's going to move. I had a pastor tell me, it was a prophecy, but I had a pastor tell me, he was like, God hasn't forgotten about you. Your time is coming. And me taking a year off has probably been the best thing ever. I got to spend more time with my wife. I had to spend more time with my kids. I got to coach my twins, 7-year-old twins. That's where my itch came back. I was like, I'm competitive again. It was with 7-year-olds. I was like, yo. And my wife was like, babe, they're 7-year-olds. They're 7-year-olds. You got to remember they're kids. I was like, yes, I understand that. But when that itch is on you and you're a coach, you can't help it. And like I say, starting AAU practice, I went straight into defense because I told one of my friends earlier today, my focus, the next program I get, is going to be strictly on the defensive end. Yes, I'm going to work X and O's, but I'm coming to a point where I want my team to be so good defensively that we can beat you that way. Because I have this thing that I want to be a 3-headed monster. I want to beat you offensively, which everybody knows you have to be able to do that. I want to beat you rebounding. As I gave an example earlier, I was able to, even at Western Kentucky, we would shoot 29%, but we would hold a team to 18% because we were able to rebound. And then if I can just beat you defensively, I'm going to stop you. I may not be scoring, but you ain't scoring either. I think those are some of the important aspects that I've been able to focus on. And man, like I said, I attest to you, man, because that conversation we had about 3 weeks ago now, right? You just like, man, whatever your next move is, just do it. And I've been trying to make this my next move, my YouTube channel thing. I've been trying to make it my next move for like 4 months. I told my students at alternative school, I was like, yeah, I'm about to start my own YouTube channel. Had the kids even come up to the computer and show me how to do it. And then I was like, yeah, whatever. I'll just do a couple lives here and there, and then people will like it, and I'll talk, and they'll share it. Then I was like, no, I'm gonna do it because I want to do it. But man, I really thank you for taking time out, because I'm sure we could stay on here and talk all day, which wouldn't bother me none.
Yeah.
I'm sure Gabby wants you back. Tell her I said thank you for letting me borrow you for an hour.
Will do.
And I appreciate everything you're doing. I'm in the exclusive women's group. If you're watching this on Facebook, there's exclusive women's group. If you're a coach, reach out to Coach Devrinn Paul on Facebook. Add him. He's a great guy to know. Nick Senato, add him as well. Nick, you need to get in that group.
Yeah, Nick, we definitely got to get you in the group.
Yeah.
I'll get a Facebook group?
Yeah, it's a Facebook group.
I'll add you, and then you send me to it, and I'll be all in.
Definitely.
But DP, I appreciate you. Man, it was good. Nick, I'm about to grill you for about two or three more minutes, and then I'm gonna let you go too. But yeah, Coach, I really appreciate you, man. I'll keep you up to date on everything that we had already talked about privately as well. You know, some of the interviews I went on. But man, this has been like a great conversation. And tomorrow, just so you know, if you want to tune in, I'm gonna have, and this is like, this week is kind of, well, tomorrow and Thursday and Friday are really special to me because tomorrow, Coach Dedrick Taylor, who is the head coach at Cal State Fullerton, where I played, is going to come on and talk to me tomorrow.
Nice.
And then Wednesday, I have Mike Hedrick, girls 5A coach of the year in Virginia. And then Thursday, I have Coach Matthew Driscoll. Coach Driscoll has been near and dear to my heart since I was in high school. He recruited me. He's at Clemson. So I followed him from Clemson to Baylor, and now he's at North Florida. And then Friday, I get my first college coach on the line, Coach Dennis Felton. Man, I'm excited about that conversation. It's going to be kind of funny because, you know, he recruited me when I was just a young whippersnapper who didn't know where he was going, but he had to coach me in a different way. I was one of those kids where it showed that you can't coach every kid the same way. Like some kids respond to you going ballistic, but he also knew that I needed that fatherly touch because of how close I was with my dad. So man, this has been a great start.
Man, I appreciate you having me on though, for real. You know, I just want to say thank you. Every time I get a chance to share my message, I always want to thank God first. And then I want to thank the people that gave me the opportunity. So I just want to say thank you. And for any aspiring coaches or any coaches that's looking to take their game to the next level, make sure you add me, man. I'm always available. I'm always hopping on calls. I'm literally about to hop on a call now with a coach. So, you know, if you're looking to take that next step in your career and you don't really know what to do, you don't have any clarity, I would love to assist you in that process. So I appreciate it, Coach Jay, man. Thanks for having me on.
Hey, no problem, man. I appreciate you. I'll be in touch soon.
All right, appreciate it. All right, I'm out of here, guys. See you, Coach Nick.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well.
Man, what up?
What's up, man? You want to take us off the live?
Yeah, I'll take us off live Facebook. Let me close it off. Stop it now.